everybody. This is Val Hart, the real Dr. Doolittle, and I'm here today with a very special guest, Suzy Godsey. I'll tell you a little bit more about her in just a second, so hang on. But today I just want to let you know, we believe that animals are in our lives for a reason. They're angels, they're teachers, they're guides, they're healers. They come into our life to help us evolve and grow and become the best person that we can possibly be. When we learn to recognize, respect, and revere them for who they truly are, then they make us better people, and we need them in our life. And I know you understand that because I know that you love animals like we do. So welcome to the show. I am here with Suzy Godsey. So let me tell you about her, and we'll get right into it. I love this part. From walking imaginary dogs as a young child to pioneering breakthrough methods of soft tissue manipulation, Suzy discovered that most problems around animals are often created by the people's inability to communicate effectively. I bet you can relate to that, right? Because I know I can. And I had imaginary dogs when I was little too. I can't wait to hear about that, Suzy. So she's also the Access Consciousness Worldwide Talk to the Animals Program Director. She's the founder of the unique and pragmatically powerful equine modality, energetic synthesis of structural integrity. She's recognized around the world. Her work has been featured in U.S. and international television, radio, internet telesummits, including Cesar Milan's Dog Whisperer television show, and her own BlogTalkRadio show, Conversations with Dog. To learn more about Suzy and find out how to connect with her, go to www.suzygodsey.com. Our topic today is Mastering the Command. I can't wait to hear about it. Welcome, Suzy.
Thank you so much for having me, Val. I so appreciate everything you are doing with this show. I have watched many of your interviews. I really enjoyed them. And what your target here is amazing. Thank you so much for having me as part of this. I'm really excited.
Oh, I'm so glad. Thank you. Thank you. You know, we need all the support we can get. I have a vision. I don't know if you've heard it. You probably have if you've been around in my neighborhood. But I have a vision. I want you to share it with me, and I know you do, of reaching and teaching 1 million animal lovers around the world how to better understand their animals, how to communicate with them, how to hear their wisdom and receive their healing. And for us to heal them as well. And I think that when we do that together, we're going to change the world as we know it.
That is so true. If we were all willing to listen a little bit more to the animals around us, I think it would assist a lot of us in being different. So just to say that, right?
I know people tell me I'm a little different. I think that's a good way. I think it's a good way. We're like the special, we're the special different people. So.
Yes.
Well, let's get into it. Let's talk about mastering the command.
Yes.
Right, so tell us what you mean by that. What is that?
Well, first of all, it's a very interesting topic because I run into people so much that expect their animals to basically, once they teach them a command, that their animal will fulfill that command every single solitary time that it's being asked. And I often find that people have these expectations that are sort of surreal. I mean, if you look at your own life, have you always listened to your mother when she told you what to do? Maybe not, maybe 80% of the time, maybe 90% of the time, but really 100% of the time, I'm not so sure. And also, if your mother would have asked you to do the same thing over and over, would you have liked that? Or would at some point you say, why do I have to do this again? Like, I have done it now 10 times in a row. Why am I doing it again? Like, what is that? Or if your mother is in a bad mood and then she tells you something to do, like, are you more inclined to do it or less inclined to do it? Also the tone, are you being asked to do something or are you being told to do something? And so, there's a lot of things where I find that animals are very much responding also to the way we approach them, the way we ask them, and also, like, even in general, the expectations we have of them. I've met quite a few animals that were put into jobs that they weren't really choosing for their lives. So, for example, a horse that was put on the racetrack and it didn't want to be a racehorse. It wanted to do something else. It wanted to be working in dressage, or it wanted to be a hunter jumper, or it just wanted to do something different. Or it was over whatever it was doing for the last 10 years and it wanted to do something different. And so all of a sudden that horse was no longer responding to the commands that were given. And the people were like, why is my horse no longer functioning? It used to be doing so well, and what's going on here? But really, we often fail to consider that the animal also might have a point of view about what they are doing with their lives. And so if we're not ever asking them about that, if we're not willing to actually be a contributory to that as a possibility, then we are expecting things that the animal is not really even willing to deliver at that point in time. So that's where, the whole thing of communicating with your animal in a different way is sort of an imperative to a better relationship.
I totally get that, and I know so many animals, it's like they have a purpose, with their person, and they have their own viewpoints about what they want to do, what they don't want to do. They get tired like we do of repetitive tasks. I tell people, the best dog training is like in 10 minutes a day total, and that's in short little spurts. And if it's a game, it should be a fun game, something they look forward to and have fun with, not just like do it rote just because I said so.
Yeah, and then also, your dog knows how to sit. Okay, great. But then also, like, when you're using that as a command, not really coming from that place of always expecting your dog to do it 100% of the time. Why are you asking your dog to sit? Are you showing off? Are you just asking because you can, because you want to have the power over, or what's behind asking for your dog to sit? And, some people do it as an exercise, and that's okay too. But you have to also be willing to look at that and go, okay, well, what is my motivation right now to ask for this particular thing? And, if it is really coming from a place of like power over, or just because I can, well, maybe look at that and go, okay, what am I doing here? Is this really required? Do I have to do this right now? What is this doing to my relationship with my dog? Am I telling my dog who's boss and that's what I want to do right now? Or what relationship would I actually like to have with my animal? Horse, dog, it doesn't matter. Any animal that you are having as your pet and that you have a relationship with and that you are training, it all applies. Whether you're teaching a bird how to speak, it doesn't matter. It's like when you're coming more from the place of partnership, the whole thing will start to be very different. And so, yeah, it is. It's a fine science, or like a little dance. And like you said, the more fun you can put into it, the more the animal will also start to enjoy and respond.
Right. They want to have fun too. And remember, they're sentient, wise, intelligent beings. They're not robots. They're not mechanical little creatures that you tell what to do, and they do this little sequence of stuff, and you go, oh, that's fun, and then turn it off. They're living beings. They're thinking, they're playing, they want to engage. So I'm really glad you brought that out, Susie. So what's your experience of how animals actually perceive our commands?
Well, yeah, thank you for asking that, because that was actually the next thing I was going to look at is the energy that you are having with anything that you are doing with your animal is really what the animal receives as communication. So I always say, hey, yes, do they speak some English? Absolutely. We teach them certain words and they know those words just as much as you can teach them Russian or German or any other language you wish to teach them. So they will know certain words mean certain things. But in essence, what's underlying all of that is the language of energy, and that they speak very fluently across the board. And it doesn't matter what language you speak, But when you have a certain energy that's underlying that, that is really what comes across. So in other words, if you are giving a command, but in your head you're actually going, well, my dog is never really listens to me, or actually, if you're sort of going into that in your head, guess what? That's the message your dog is receiving.
Yeah.
Not sit or do this, but your dog is actually hearing everything that just went on in your own head. So how do you expect your dog to actually know what it is that you are desiring from your dog? And that's the part where often the communication breaks down completely, when people have things going on in their head or in their whole being that are completely opposite of what they're asking their dog to do or their horse to do. That's when it really gets complicated, because these animals actually want to deliver. They want to have fun with us. They want to play with us. They want to do well by us. And so if we are not being clear with what we're asking for, they get very confused. And that oftentimes also gets into the way of, us like really being communicative with them to begin with. And so, for example, I give you an example. It's actually a fun story. This lady was saying that her dog, her brother would come over, her dog would go bananas and would like bark at her brother and almost bite him at the door and be really aggravated about her brother coming over. And this was the only person that her dog had a reaction to. Anyone else who would come over, the dog was fine, was greeting, with the tail wagging, just the brother. And she said, this is embarrassing. I don't know what to do. And he will not listen to me. He won't stop. I tell him to stop. He doesn't stop, and da-da-da. So I asked her, well, what's going on with you and your brother? Do you like your brother coming over? And she said, well, yeah, I do. And I said, really? And she said, well, no, actually, you know what? I don't like that he comes unannounced. I would love it if he would call me first, but I don't like that he just comes over whenever he wants. And I said, well, do you think your dog might be picking that up? And she goes, oh, really? You mean my dog knows that I don't like this? And I said, yeah, what do you think? Your dog perceives your energy when your brother comes in, and you're not, like I said to her, do you ever actually tell your brother? And she says, oh no, I would never do that. And I said, well, is your dog telling your brother? And she says, oh, okay.
I love it. Yeah, that happens all the time. They're paying attention, they hear us, they feel us, and the things that we can't act out or say, they'll take it on as their role. It's like, well, here, I'll help you with that, Mom.
Exactly.
I'll tell him to go away, like you're like the dog. Oh my God, that's so cute. I love it.
Yeah, and so this is just a very basic example, and yet we have those on a daily basis with our animals, because they are reading us like an open book all the time. So you can't actually hide your stuff from them, really. They know it. And so yes,
they know where your skeletons are buried in your butt.
Exactly.
Oh. That's great. Okay, so let's talk about, a lot of people have a real challenge. Oh, there we go. A lot of people have a real challenge with the command, with getting their message across and I know you have a way to help people master the command with ease and with flow and, with good timing. So let's talk about that for a moment.
Yeah. So one of the things that is very important and that a lot of us are doing is, one word you want to eliminate when you are talking with your dog is actually the don't do this or this or this. That's something you have to totally eliminate. It's not the word, it's really a phrase. Please don't ever use with your dog, don't do blah, blah, blah. And why is that? I'll give you an example right now. Don't think about an apple. Too late, right? You thought about that apple so fast, it wasn't even out of my mouth. You already had the apple right there, right?
Salivating, yeah.
Exactly. And so how do you think your animal hears that? It hears exactly the same thing. It doesn't hear the don't do this. It hears whatever comes after the don't do. So please don't use that. Find what it actually is that you're asking for. And for some people, that's a real challenge. People always go, don't bark, don't pee in the house, don't do this, don't sniff there, don't. It's always the don't. But then the animal always hears what is behind that. and goes, oh, but that is what you're asking of me, because the don't means nothing energetically. So the animal goes, and now I'm being punished for what I'm doing, what you're asking for. Like, I don't understand. This is confusing. So please start to get into your vocabulary really clearly what you're asking for, and make it simple. You know,
Yeah,
like, I need you to be quiet in the house. Quiet in the house. Thank you. I need it quiet in the house. You know, or bark once. Okay, I get that you have a point of view that you need to alert me when there's something going on. Bark once. Thank you. Got it. Okay, somebody's walking outside. Somebody's coming to the door. Thank you. I got it. That's the other part, is the acknowledgement. What is our dog's job? Most of the time, keeping us safe, you know, alerting us of things. So please acknowledge the animal for the job that they are here to do for us as well. And then say, hey, and that's enough. Thank you. Now I need you to be quiet. I need you to pee outside. Please, let's go outside to pee and poo. This is really where I want you to go when we're peeing and pooing, is outside. You know, I need you to be friendly. You know, not like don't bark at the other dog. No, be friendly. Not be friends. You know, I'm not asking you to be friends with everyone, but friendly. You can do that. So really start to look at where you're using these sort of negative, I call them negative, but really they're not totally negative, but you're sort of telling your dog exactly the wrong thing. And so start using what you're asking for, and really also look at what is it that I desire from my animal. And that's really often the step that a lot of people also go, well, I want him to be protective of me. Well, what does that mean exactly? When you say that, can you define that? Well, I want him, well, I don't know. What does that mean? You know, so a lot of people aren't really clear even in what it is that they are asking for. And if you're like a dog trainer, you have been training yourself more to be more precise with what it is that you're asking for. But if you are just a person that now has a dog, oftentimes we really run into these quote unquote problems where we're really not really giving a clear message to our animals what it is that we really desire of them. And that's really important for them to know, well, what does that mean? You know, when you say you want me to protect you, does that mean I should bite your brother? Is that part of me protecting you? Or does that mean I should bite your spouse when they're touching you? You know, is that part of the job you've just given me? So that's the part that you want to look at. And then you can actually fire your dog from the job and just say, you're fired. Whatever job I've given you about protecting me, I'm firing you now. And now let's redefine the job in a different way. So those are a couple tips that I would hand out to people to start looking at what they're asking in a different way.
Yeah, I really love that, Susie, because, and I do that with my clients all the time. It's like, what do you actually want? I'll ask them, I'll say, what do you actually want your animal to do? And a lot of it, they can't even tell me because they're so focused on what they're not what's not working, you know? So it's like, you know, come back, what do you actually want? Tell them that. And they do have jobs, they have roles. And we need to discuss their job description, you know, because their viewpoint, like you said, so well as their viewpoint of protection could be very different from yours.
Yeah.
You know, protecting you from the squirrel. It's driving you nuts, but they're protecting, you know. So, but yeah, these discussions have to happen for clarity. It's so cool. Yeah, well done.
Well, and actually, I'll top it off with one more thing. If you do competitive work with your animal, whether it's a horse or a dog, and it doesn't really matter, let them know before competition, like, hey, would this be fun for you to do well in? Would you help me with this? I would love to place first here. Is that a possibility? Can we do this together? In order for that to occur, we have to go through this with flying colors. Will you do this with me? And then show them every step of the turn. I need you to jump over this the best you can. This is a little higher than what you normally do, but can you do it? Like, I'm willing to, you know, help you. What can we do together? Really involve them in that, but also let them know, like, this is really the part where I'd like to shine with you. Are you willing to do this with me? Ask them, but also, you know, entice them. And it's interesting how many animals are like, yes, of course, let's do it, you know. And when people approach competition in that way, their animals usually do really well. So it's been fun to talk to people that use this tool and really say, wow, I'm getting so much more out of this. I'm having more fun. My animal is having more fun. And we're really placing way, way better. So yeah, fun tools to use.
Yeah, it's wonderful. I love that you brought in that the communication piece. I call it the secret ingredient to great training and great performance. It's the communication. It's like, let's talk about it. What can we do here? How can we make it fun? What would work for you? This is what I want. What do you want? How can we do it, together? And it works perfectly. It's like they're your partner.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to them, communicate, learn how to hear them, learn how to feel them, and have that conversation. It makes all the difference in the world. It's miraculous almost. Yeah, cool, huh? All right, so if animals don't listen to us, what does that mean? Does that mean they don't like us? They don't want, they're like, talk to the paw, or like, go away from me?
I love that, talk to the paw. Yeah, that is actually one of the, it's almost like I want to be a mythbuster with this one, so many people have the point of view, if my animal doesn't listen to my commands, my animal doesn't like me. We don't have a good relationship where, my animal doesn't want to live with me anymore. Like, I get so many people that are so unsure and insecure when their animals are not listening to them. It's very interesting to me. They always put a lot of meaning into that, and it always becomes this very dramatic thing. But really, like, let's bring it back to you and your mother. Yes, of course, sometimes all of us probably wanted to leave home and be like, oh, I want to go. But in essence, it's like, not every hump on the road meant that you now hated your entire situation and, all that. It's more like, no, let's just kind of look at this and really like, hey, what else is possible here? What can we do together to change this? If you have a hump in the road, like, okay, what can we change here? Not trying to fix it, but change it. What am I doing here that isn't working for my animal? What can I change here to make this be an easier way to communicate? If they don't understand your command, there's probably something very simple, like we said earlier, just a communication breakdown. But it really, don't bring it to this place of like, my animal doesn't like me anymore. That is really not the place to go. That is not where your animal wants you to go. They don't like it when we go these places. They don't understand when we go there. To them, life isn't like that. And, that being said, you mentioned it earlier, and I know you had a couple of shows, or at least one show, where you talked about sometimes animals are done with us and they leave. Yes, that is a possibility. I'm done with this. My job here is done. Now I'm off to the next person. That is a possibility. But really, most of the time, that is not the case when your animal doesn't, quote unquote, listen to you in the command. It doesn't reflect the idea that your animal hates you. It's really more like, what am I asking of them? Are they actually understanding what I'm asking for? Am I asking them of something that they're not capable of? Some animals are not capable of everything that we throw at them. And just because your prior dog was able to do it doesn't mean that your current dog can do it. So ask them also, can you do this? I'm asking you to pick up the newspaper. Maybe this is beyond this dog's scope. Like, maybe the dog just doesn't get it. Ask a few questions. If you're willing to actually put the question into all of this and really ask your animal more questions, you're going to start to recognize where the communication is not working. And please go away from the idea that your relationship is bad just because you're not getting across what it is that you would like to get across.
Yeah, I'm really glad you said that, because it's true. It's like with another person. If we get crosswise, we come back, we discuss it, we find out what happened, and then we course correct. It's like we go, okay, now where can we go from here? What makes sense from here? Clear up the confusion, sweeten the reward, maybe they want more treats, they're holding out for more treats or something, you never know. But, be with them in the conversation. So the next step of this is, so when we do master the command and we've got all this stuff working for us, does that mean they're going to obey us all the time?
Well, that's kind of where we started this whole show. If you have the expectation that you are going to get it 100% of the time, then I would say, please, that is never going to be fulfilled. Please don't expect that. You're going to be very disappointed, because like you said too, Val, they're not robots. They do have, and even robots, does your computer work all the time? Or when you get angry, does your computer still work when you get angry? Most likely not. Even your computer starts shutting down when you have that energy. So even robots don't work 100% of the time. So it's sort of insane on our part to expect that. And we need to get away from that. We have to start trusting that our animals will, they, like you said too, they have their own lives, they have their own way of being in the world, and we have to trust that if they're not listening to us, that there's something else going on at that moment, and it's not just about I'm the master and you're the underling and you have to do everything I say. That relationship can work to a degree, but it usually doesn't really work over the long term. And the willingness on your part to be aware also is a huge difference. So for example, if you already know that your dog is not going to listen to you, then don't use the command. Because first of all, now you're teaching your dog that when you say it, maybe I don't have to do it. Secondly, you get frustrated and it's not helping you to move forward. And a lot of people use a command and then tell me, well, I knew he wasn't going to do that anyway. And I said, well, why did you then command it of him? That makes no sense to me. Try to get him distracted from whatever it is that he's doing right now and then ask him again. Like, don't go into this place where you are setting yourself and your dog up for frustration. So it's really important that you're also willing to be aware. And being aware doesn't mean just barking commands around for just the mere idea of now I'm just going to command something and then my animal will do it because, that's what I taught them. That is most likely not going to work 100% of the time.
So, well, and I'm thinking, what are you thinking if you're doing that? It's like, get a little reality check there. That doesn't work with anybody, anywhere, anytime. So pay attention. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. We got it. All right. So, Susie, you've been wonderful. I love this. I know that we're going to talk about access consciousness, talking to the animals and healing and stuff. But what I want to do is have you back on, and let's dive into that because it's fabulous work. It's really fascinating. Would that be okay with you?
Absolutely. I would love to do that. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you. All right. So I'm hoping everyone has really gotten some really good tools you can use and that you'll think about when you're working with your animal, whether dog, cat, horse, bird, anything. Anytime you're communicating and asking things of them and interacting with them, remember what Susie's taught today, because these are really crucial foundational relationship pieces that have to be in place if you're going to get the results you want and have the relationship you want with your pet. So thank you. Thanks. All right, so everybody go check out Susie's stuff at SuzyGodsey.com. You've been watching a wonderful episode. I think it was wonderful of the Real Dr. Dolittle show. And pay attention. Next time we're going to have Deborah Pointer on. She's going to talk about how to help your pet have a happy boarding or kenneling experience. And that's another whole area that's really important for all of us, I think. And so show us some love. We need your support. Share the show with others. And thank you. Thank you for loving animals like we do and for helping to make the world a better place. So thank you so much. Thanks, Susie. I appreciate having you today.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate what you do, and I'm looking forward to your next show as well. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, okay. All right. Bye, everybody. We'll talk to you next time.